Michael Malice here. Let that be your welcome for the next hour. We got an interview here that's been 19 years in the making. I've got with me Handsome Dick Manitoba, lead singer of longtime New York band The Dictators, owner of Manitoba's, which is a staple on Avenue B. And we're going to start this interview with a little bit of a surprise. It's your birthday today.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Where were you the night of December 12th, 2000? Do you know?
You got to be kidding me.
I know. I know where you were.
I mean, there's so many layers and levels to my life. You almost like torturing an old man here.
That is the premise of the show. So that night, you and I were in the same room because there was a band called The Independents. And The Independents were managed by Joey Ramone.
Yeah.
And that was Evil Presley's birthday. Evil was the lead singer.
Yeah.
And they had a birthday party for Evil. Joey came. There were like 20 people there.
Are you sure it wasn't Show World?
I'm positive. And Joey performed. Mickey Lee was there. There were 20 people there. And it turned out to be Joey's last show ever. He died 4 months later. And that was at Manitoba's.
The second you mentioned it, it clicked.
And here is the lighter from the band The Independents that I got that night. I've had this all this time.
Wow.
So it was, and he was kind of a dick to me, but that's okay. He earned it.
Who was?
Joey.
Joey was a good friend of mine, and toward the end, and you got to give a guy who's getting sick a little slack.
No, even if he wasn't, he deserves to be as much ridiculous as he wants. Yeah.
My trip when someone's sick is to always treat them the same. Like my dear friend Gary, I'll just call him Gary Love. He was dying of HIV years ago, and there was no good cocktails in those days. So I walked in, he had tubes coming in, and I go, the fuck you doing here? Come on. Come on. Well, get the tubes. Get the hell out of here. Come on. He goes, stop it, Richie. Stop it. Stop it. You're making me laugh. Really, you can't. And then I walked outside, and I cried like a baby. Yeah. And his aunt came over to me, his tia. He was Spanish. And she goes, Richie, don't let Gary see you cry because he's going to be really upset. And I said, no, I saved it for outside. And I tried to do the same thing with Joey, and it didn't quite work. I tried to go, Joey, come on, let's have a party. Let's have a rock. Because Joey threw great rock and roll parties.
Yeah.
And I said, let's have a party. And he took it seriously and answered me back in a snotty manner. And, of course, I didn't take it personally because, I'm in that mood 75% of the time anyway, without being sick. So, Joey, it's okay, Joey.
So you've been around from the beginning. So what did the word punk mean before it became a scene?
I was grabbing girls by the hair like Clint Eastwood and pulling them into caves. That's how long I've been around.
But what did the word punk mean before punk became a subculture? What connotation did it have back then to call someone a punk?
What are you saying, before the word punk was used?
Yeah, because like right now, if you say grunge, you're referring to Seattle or whatever in the 90s, right? But if you said grunge in 1988, you meant like dirt on your counter or something.
Oh, punk was, a bitch in jail.
Is that how it was actually used? Like you're a bitch?
I don't think that was the motivation at all. I think it was there were variables. In England, I think it was, well, first of all, English kids always dressed cooler.
Yeah.
So in England, there was some amount of style and fashion and a lot of politics and a lot of I'm on the queue, a lot of money and hurting and anti-government and political. And if you look at the people in CBGBs back in 1976, you see guys with Beatle haircuts and pop guys and I don't know what punk is. I don't know what punk is. I in a way I don't. Like, what's rock and roll? Ask 10 people, you'll get 10 different. So Giorgio Gamelski, who passed away a few years ago, who was as much a part of the British invasion of swinging London as anybody. He managed the club that the Rolling Stones were the house band in. He managed the Rolling Stones for a while till Andrew Loog Oldham took him over. Giorgio Gamelski used to, in his Russian gruff accent, used to go like, what do you mean punk rock? What do you mean garage? There was no punk. There was no garage. There was none of that stuff back then. And I said, Giorgio, it doesn't matter if it was there back then. It doesn't make it any less important or powerful that years later, they decided that music was called garage and punk, and
Yeah.
those were that was the embryonic stage.
So were you surprised to see the bands that broke out that did?
Like
I love that I can talk.
I can't.
I'll tell you exactly what.
Listen,
What?
you're in a business.
Yeah,
You're in a business with a lot of people that do similar things to you.
that's not really true, but yeah. I'm kind of a one-trick pony.
I'm sure you're one of a kind, but like comedians, radio personalities, and you might be pals with a lot of them, and you're going to go on the air, and are you going to give your real opinion about them?
Yeah, well, let me frame the question differently, because there's a difference between reading something in a book and talking to someone who's there, right? So I want some, because a lot of times things in the book get a little skewed and they're misinformed. One of the big claims in these books, I also saw you perform in 1999 at Tramps with Adolf's dog, because Blondie had reformed. They couldn't perform as Blondie, so they called themselves Adolf's dog because Hitler's dog was called Blondie. And
Really?
And the Pristines and you, and it was a Regina Spektor or Ronnie Spector. I always get them confused. And you were playing, and you had that hat with the Jewish star on it. And you said, if you guys keep coming, we'll keep playing. The big thing in the stories, in the books, is everyone was shocked that Blondie broke through. That when they started, they were really kind of a joke. And for them to become the biggest band out of that scene, it blew everyone's mind. And every time I've met Debbie, she's been a bitch.
And I'm not saying this for any other reason.
Which kills me.
People wake up. People wake up and they are who they are that day, and maybe they had 3 great hours. Then the hour they met you. I've had an antithetical situation with personality with Debbie. She's been the absolute sweetest, kindest, most giving. Every year, almost, I ask her for like an autographed guitar to raise money for my kids' school, and her and Chris give it to me, and it raises a lot of money. She's never said no to me, and she's never not been kind and loving, and she always gives me a little kiss. And like what I like about it is, it's not a kiss on the cheek; it's a kiss on the lips. I mean, it's not a deep kiss on the lips, but the word that comes to mind is pillowy.
Okay.
She has pillowy lips.
Yeah, she has that Cupid's bow.
She's the most gorgeous woman in rock and roll history.
Yeah, I agree.
And why they made it? Okay, are they punk? Are they the epitome of punk? No, but her and Chris wrote great songs.
Oh yeah.
And to me, it's all about the songs. And the songs hit people and went over. And would I think they would come out? No, I didn't. I didn't plan the future. I didn't predict the future. I wasn't Criswell from Plan 9.
Yeah, but the point is, when you're there, there's bands that are getting heat that people think like here's a good example. The New York Dolls were like they were the It Boys, and then the album kind of was a little bit disappointing, right?
The first album?
Yeah, like it didn't do as well as expected
running,
because they were really kind of innovators in many ways, right? And they were supposed to be the big harbingers of the New York scene, and then it was relatively disappointing. So what I'm saying is, when you're in this world, is it at all obvious who's going to break out or not?
You had your friends, you had your not so good friends, you had the people you really liked musically, you had the people you didn't really like musically. So, you thought I don't really like them. And like, there's this one band that broke out. To me, they weren't rock and roll at all.
Who? Talking Heads? Is it Talking Heads? It's Talking Heads.
I'm not saying.
It's Talking Heads. I fucking nailed it. I knew it.
I'm not saying.
There, you said it.
Just because I'm smiling doesn't mean you're right.
Yeah.
I smile a lot. I'm
it's
a happy person.
It's not his fault. He does have autism, he said. He does, David Byrne.
His autism?
Yeah.
Really?
That's why if you think he's weird, that's what it is.
Yeah, you just turned me into a guilty Jew.
We're all guilty, motherfucker.
I just didn't think certain bands were rock and roll, and a lot of people think. Here's the thing, and I say this often in interviews. A lot of people think like we were aware of what was going on. When you're in a situation, are you sitting there going, you know what? This is going to be the future. And we knew we were part of something special, but we were trying to get laid, trying to get stoned. Oh, yeah, and making some music. You look at Please Kill Me. It's like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, making some music. And you're not in a situation where you're sitting there going, we're in the middle of something special, and they're going to write about it, and this is going to be an important part of you. You're living life. You're in the moment. It would be so boring to be that self-conscious, to be that important consciously at a time when you're just trying to do those things.
See, I had a different experience because I came up with the early blog scene, and when blogs were becoming a thing in the mid-aughts, we knew it was going to be a thing. We were self-aware, and that made it a better experience because we were like, holy shit, we're so lucky that we're part of something special. But then also New York back then wasn't New York in the mid-'70s.
That's a tough one. Do you think it's just because the next generation was like that and did think like that and did have the self-consciousness like that? Or because none of that existed, none of the inventions that we are addicted to? Do you think because none of that was around, does that have anything to do with it?
I think it has a lot to do with it because before punk, there was always music, right? But before the blogs became a thing, there wasn't a predecessor. So you knew at the very least it was something new and unique.
Right. Now, if somebody comes out with the new Facebook, Instagram, blah, 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 you're not going to be surprised.
Yeah, who cares? Right, exactly. So that's why I think was a big difference. One of the questions I had for Joey, and I want to get your take, is I remember Williamsburg, let's say 15 years ago, right? Or 20 years ago.
I'll channel Joey for you.
Okay. No, but and the question I had is, was it all posers trying to like look over each other's shoulder, or was it actually people who were cool? Like how history, it becomes more special over history, but at the time everyone's like, it's not that cool.
And history is storytelling by men and women, and history tends to mutate.
Yeah.
And, history is not math. It's not an exact thing. So, what's your question? That was it all people just jumping on the back of it? Or?
Yeah. Was there a lot of posers, or were there really a lot of talented people who were
both.
Really cool? It's both.
I hate to ride the fence, but both.
Okay.
There were creators. To me, like the Ramones are a great band because I always tell my son this. I only have about 30 philosophies, but I say them over and over again. There's 7,300,000,000 people in the world, and each one's fingerprint is different. I said, Jake, when you put your fingerprint down, write Jake and make it count. And there were people like the Ramones who got booed off the stage with Black Sabbath, and the difference between them and us is we were managed by Krugman and Perlman, and that was Blue Oyster Cult manager, and I love them to death, those guys, but they didn't put us back in the van. They said, we got to go bigger. We got to go, arena. The Ramones got booed off the stage like, fuck this. Let's go back to being the Ramones. And they got in the van and they put their fingerprint down. They're great artists because nobody sounds like the Ramones.
Right.
If you want the Ramones, it's like this. If you want White Castle, you can't go to Burger King.
Right.
Same thing with the Cramps. There's nowhere to go now because the Cramps are gone. There are bands who like that kind of music and emulate that kind of music, but you can't go to the Cramps anymore. It's done.
Two of the biggest scenes that had an influence on me creatively are the punk scene and the Warhol scene, right? And I think there's three people who bridged the gap between the two of them. One's Lou Reed, and there's someone else who you had a thing with in the early 70s. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Jane County.
Jane County. Can I read you a page from Jane's book and then have your response?
Sure.
Because this was a big moment in New York City.
Yeah, it was. It was like on page.
Yeah, this was a big
Village
moment.
Voice.
So.
But how'd you go back and pick those things out? You just loved the Velvets?
No, I like Warhol. I don't like the Velvets at all. I'm like the only
You don't like the
person.
Velvets at all?
No, I haven't listened to the Velvets, to be fair. But I don't know what you mean by how to pick those things. What do you mean?
Well, you went back and picked stuff before your time.
Yeah, what I like about Warhol is his glorification of low culture. And his idea that just because I hate this idea, Henry Rollins was on VH1. There was a show called
a big Dictator fan.
Yeah, well, he's a great guy and smart.
Yeah,
he was on this VH1 show called The List, and the subject was name a band you never want to hear again. And someone said either like Backstreet Boys or NSYNC, and he's like, there've always been teen bands for teens. And he was so dismissive of this. Like, just because something is pop and like bubblegum doesn't mean it's bad. It's just not for you. And it's not trying to be Mozart. So the idea that Warhol took this like comic books and newspapers and said this is something important, something that speaks a lot to me. That's why I find him so interesting. But let me read you this page. And then I want, because this is so cool that I get to hear the actual two sides of a moment in New York history, okay?
It's a long time ago.
I know it's a long time
You're
ago.
asking an old man a memory question.
I was on. Okay, I'm gonna slur. I'm gonna keep out the slurs. Okay. It says I was on. This is Wayne County. I was on stage at CBGB and everything was going fine until I heard someone in the audience yelling. I ignored him. We did another song and he started shouting abuse again. So I said, "Who the fuck is that? Why don't you come up here and say it, you fucking asshole?" So up comes this creature with curly black hair. It was Handsome Dick Manitoba. I knew he was an ex-professional wrestler. True?
No.
Okay. Apparently, he'd been going to CBs and heckling all the.
one.
Apparently, he'd been going down to CBGB and heckling all the bands. True?
No.
Just being
Heckling some bands.
Okay, which is fair. Just being obnoxious on purpose to try and get attention. He'd been heckling Blondie the night before, calling Debbie a slut. True?
Fucking no.
When he started at me, I started screaming at him, calling him a fat pig, really laying into him, and he jumped on stage with a beer mug. True?
No.
Okay. I thought he was going to attack me, so I picked up my microphone stand and hit him with it.
True.
On the collarbone. His collarbone broke. I heard it crack. He fell off the stage, went head first in the corner of a table, and busted his head open. True?
I don't remember.
So tell me that story from your point of view. If your collarbone's broken by a mic stand, you're going to remember that.
First of all, Jane's story is Jane good, Richard bad.
Yeah.
So that's ridiculous. That's like he said, she said, or however you want to put it in this case. I later found out that Jane said, I didn't know it was Dick Manitoba. I love the Dictators. Okay?
Okay.
And the second thing is, first of all, it was just like faggot. Anybody who knows me and how I grew up and how I'm friends with everybody, you know what this guy, this gay chef we used to have up at 2A, we used to work up there. And I said, these articles are coming out that I'm a homophobe and it really bothers me. And the reason it bothers me is because it's not the truth.
Right.
And he said to me something really great that I've always taken with me all my life. He goes, Richard, your friends know who you are. And I was a drunk heckler. First of all, the way it's a lie, that many lies in that story, is I think I had about 6 beers in my life by the time I was 25. The only time I remember drinking 3 or 4 beers at one time was when I was on a boat ride around the island of Manhattan. It's a legendary New York boat ride with Jerry Garcia, Bo Diddley, the Hells Angels.
Oh, wow.
It was a Hells Angels boat ride with a bunch of riders. I sat there with my hands clasped, terrified as they threw each other in the East River. And I drank beer after beer because it was the only thing. Like if I had 5 beers, I'd get a buzz. I'd be relaxed. So to this day, even as a recovering guy, I've had 3 non-alcoholic beers in my refrigerator for 3 months. I don't like beer. Once in a while, an ice cold beer after a sandwich, after a Yankee game. Okay. So number 1, a beer in a mug, no chance. Number 2, when I yell stuff out, it's like yelling at Don Rickles. It's like I want an answer back and I want some fun. I'm trying to create some fun.
Especially in a place like that. This isn't exactly Le Cirque.
And,
right? This is CB's in 70, whatever.
And Debbie's always, Debbie filled in for us when our drummer had the chicken pox. Debbie and Chris and I get along with everybody. I get along with all those people. The Dead Boys were great friends of mine. Chris and Tina from the Talking Heads were friends of mine.
So half of them.
Huh?
Half of the heads.
Well,
no, David, not so much.
No, David. David wasn't not a friend of mine. He just wasn't like an acquaintance of mine. But so some of it's true is that but someone once said like I just walked up and started yelling faggot. I did yell faggot after. This is my side of the story.
Yeah.
After I'm yelling out benign shit to try to create some fun, and he was like, like fuck you. Now, first of all, he admitted to be high on ups.
Speeds,
uppers, yeah. And I was drunk. So you got 2 idiots misunderstanding each other. And I understand that a deep South transvestite is scared for his life a lot, especially down there. Not expecting it as much, maybe in a place like CBGB's. And I just tell you the truth, drunk, young, whatever, it's not my style to do that. It's my style to yell shit out. It's my style to be annoying and obnoxious, but it's not my style to be venomous and trying to start trouble like that. And then he started calling me these nasty names. I said, why is this guy calling me these nasty names? I got up on stage. Next thing I kind of remember was his guitar player picking up his guitar over his head and me going like this and then getting hit from the other side. And that was it. It carried me out. And then I pressed charges because I had not lifted a hand. Now, in the old days in CBGB's, the stage was about 24 inches high. Yeah. And to get to the bathroom, you actually had to cross on the very corner of the stage. Now, I was more in the middle, obviously. I'm not going to lie. And then, shit went down for a long time. Jane went in hiding because there was a bunch of guys in the Bronx who wanted to kill her. And what wound up happening, I don't know how many years ago, was at was that party that had a Dawn Hills every week, like the kind of like gay party.
Oh God, Misshapes?
No. This was like about 15 years ago. They made a movie out of it, a documentary.
You mean Disco Bloodbath? That movie from
Limelight?
No,
it took place in Dawn Hills. It was a party every week.
Okay, I don't know.
All right, it was very, very well known in New York.
Was
rock history. No, you're too young.
Okay.
So so we had that party, and there was a picture of I think Bob Gruen took it of me and Jane kissing, like Jane kissing Jane on the making up on the lips, and Mistress Formica, who's a good friend of mine, was there, and then Jane and I became friends again, and Jane and I would talk on the phone because I'm very pro-Israel, and Jane is very pro-Israel.
Really?
Very pro-Israel. Very pro-Jew, very pro-Israel. And we talk on the phone once in a while, and whenever we see each other over the last 15, 18 years or so, we're friends. So
that's wonderful.
It's probably boring for your radio show, a happy ending.
No, it's not. It's wonderful. I first of all, it's wonderful that the people are still alive. Because a lot of people from that scene, got taken so young. So the fact that's
why I'm still a star.
Well,
they're all gone.
Last one standing. But it's also the fact that people can have perspective as you get older, and not be the knucklehead you are at 20. You know what I mean? That's also I like that.
Yeah. That was just it was just a stupid incident in my life.
Okay, Michael Malice here. I am wearing the Heshy socks right now, and I wear them because they keep my feet warm. If you go to heshysocks.com, you get 30% off with promo code WELCOME30. Let me tell you why I love Heshy socks. They're comfortable. If you got typical socks, you don't have protection at all. They make your feet hurt. These are like pillows for your feet. They're cushioned in the footbed. They're cushioned in the heel. They're cushioned in the toe for maximum comfort. They've got arch support in the center of the foot, and they're made with high-end Pima cotton. Why is Pima cotton great? Because it's super soft, but it's also highly breathable and absorbent if your feet sweat. It's also antimicrobial, kills the bacteria, keeps your foot from stinking. They are helping you get laid when you take your shoes off. And they've got a bunch of different styles. They've got the basic stuff. They've got the fashion stuff. That's the one I like and what I'm wearing right now on my feet. You can wear them with dress shoes or sneakers. I wear them as my house socks because they're durable and they're not going to wear out. So if you go to heshysocks.com, HESHI socks.com, and use promo code WELCOME30, you're going to get 30% off. What happened with the court case if you press charges?
I think I dropped the charges.
Okay.
I didn't think I wanted to spend like months and months in court and go in there and, it takes a lot.
Was your head busted open? Did you have to get stitches?
I might have had a few stitches in my head. And my collarbone was broken, but, to this day, no matter what the weather is, no matter what, if I got to lift like military presses, it's like zero. Bothers me zero.
Huh. Okay, that's good to know.
I'm a Russian Jew. He can't hurt me.
Same here. Where from?
Russia. No, my father was from Russia. And
no, where though? I'm from Lvov.
I don't remember. I don't know, and he's dead a long time. But it was Russia and Poland.
Yeah.
And my grandfather used to say, they used to take over the border of different
Yeah,
countries.
yeah, Galicia. That's where
So
I'm from.
he was from Russia and Poland and Russia and Poland, but I'm a Russian Polish Jew. I'm an Eastern European Jew.
Is it so? There was something else I read is that there used to be this big rivalry between Max's Kansas City, which is on just north of Union Square, and CB's. Like these are two kind of scenes. Is that true?
I was not. I always looked at it as some people were both.
Okay.
Some people were Max's guys. Some people. I was a CB's guys. I was a Max's maybe 10 times. What's his name? The owner of Max's, the original owner. His wife is still around. Max's Kansas City. I can't think of his name, but I think it was the Velvet Underground that played there like 7 nights in a row, and I was like dying to see them. And I was like on like I don't know what I was stoned, like Quaaludes or methadone. And I'm with my friend Cliffy, and we're totally acting up online. And the owner comes out and goes, "Him and him, they're not getting in." And just pointed to us. So I missed the Velvets at Max's. And I was there a bunch of times. I played Allison East, I think her name was. She had cancer, and we played a benefit for her there. And I was there 10 times in my life, and I was in CBGB's like 1,000.
So there was this kind of a little bit of a split.
Well, like I say, again, riding the fence to some people.
What did the Max's people think of the CB's people, and what did the CB's people think of the Max's people?
You know, I don't think I ever once talked to people about why you like Max's better. I don't think ever once. I'd say a lot went to both, and some considered them Max's people. You know, the Max's people were probably the Dolls were probably more Max's people. You know, you could tell by who played more, who hung out. They hung out. I came downtown from the Bronx, went right to CBGB's. Hilly was great. We were the last people to play there outside of Patti Smith. But what I always say is Patti played on a church day. We played on a Friday and a Saturday. So we really close CBGB's in a rock and roll way.
What's Patti Smith like? Were you friends with her?
I've had was never close, but even as like pals or let's say strong acquaintances, the variety of how we were treating each other was had great variables. So it was like one time I took my ex to see her. And I was, I love Patti Smith. I love Patti Smith. And she wasn't very nice. We waited outside with our hands clasped on New Year's Eve. You know, I never bother anybody in their dressing room because I understand that type of respect that I would like back.
Of course.
And, you know, Patti was sitting inside, like laying around, and like with all these people standing outside. And what made me laugh was that she just went off stage with the song, "We are the people, we the people."
People have the power.
Well, people have the power.
Yeah.
We the people. People have the power. People have the power. And I looked at my fucking memory now that today I had 65. I have no memory left today. Tony Shanahan, the bass player. I looked at him and go, "Tony, aren't we the people? Like we're standing outside with." So then I kind of, this is my take, not Patty's. I kind of think she felt like kind of bad maybe that like we're standing outside for so long, and she goes, "How's Sandy Pearlman? You hear from him?" Because her and Sandy, rest his soul, went back a long time. And so that made me feel a little bit more comfortable. Although my ex was like, you know, I said, "Artist.
Yeah.
Take the art, not the artist." And then she used to live at 105th Avenue, you know, great address. And it's with, I don't want to mention other people. I only talk about myself in terms of bad things. But he was a musician, and she was living with him, and he was into this drug, and I was into this drug. So we hung out, and he came up to the Bronx because I had this connection for this amazing version of this drug. And, you know, next time I saw Patti, she said, "I hear you boys have been bad." So you see this good, bad, right? Then another time, I smacked her in the ass, and she smacked me in the face.
Oh.
And another time at the guy who ran Led Zeppelin's. Here we go again. He ran Led Zeppelin's record company. He was a big shot in the industry, Jewish guy. He had this amazing house in the West Village, and we'd go to his Christmas parties. Patty was there, and she was lovely. She took a picture with my son, and so it was like that. It was just like these little moments of like good, bad. But I mean, I don't think Patty has anything against me, and I'm very close with Lenny, who's probably going to be my guest tomorrow on You Don't Know Dick, the Handsome Dick Manitoba podcast. Lenny will probably be my guest. He's having trouble getting in from Pennsylvania with the snow.
Oh.
And Lenny's one of those guys like Danny Fields and like Bob Gruen, who I had on as my first guest. They're guys where, believe it or not, I shut up for a while, because their stories are so great. I mean, Bob Gruen's like hung out with John and Yoko. I mean, I want to hear these stories. Yeah, and Lenny's done everything, been around forever.
So what's your favorite story from back in the day? There's got to be your go-to story that knocks everyone's socks off.
Getting beat up by a transvestite. I think that's number one. I think I'll try it for the UFC now. My two favorites, one that makes people like go, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Yeah.
Is me and this girl. Okay, there's a famous picture that David Godless took of me grabbing a girl's ass like a 6-pack. And we both had our brand new Dictators shiny like baseball jackets, and CBGB's just had its brand new awning put up, and we stood back to back. And he goes, take a picture, and I grabbed her. And that became a pretty famous picture. It was all punk rock books. So me and this girl were both into babanya. Babanya, with that Jew in Miami with the babanya.
What? No, what?
Babanya is like street term for heroin.
I've never heard that. Okay.
The Godfather, where
Babanya,
Frankie Five Angels goes, wow, with the Jew in Miami and the babanya.
Oh.
The babanya, he goes.
All I know is gabagool.
Yeah, but you know what? American Italians destroyed the language. Because I was in Rome. I go, how do you say mozzarella? He goes, mozzarella. It's not mozzarella.
Yeah, right.
But that, whatever, So, okay, so this girl in that picture, I'll go to the ending before I go to the beginning. I got away from her because she didn't stop taking drugs, and I did. She living in San Diego. Somebody calls me up like 8 years ago and goes, Richard, read this article. And it was this Christian mission that went into to jails and visited people who had nothing and were suffering. And this woman was taking care of a woman like with Alzheimer's or some debilitating disease, and the woman died. Now the cops come in and they just do their basic search and found out that A, B, C, D, E, it was A, L, J, K, N. It didn't match up. And they arrested her on charges of murder, and she's been in jail ever since. And she wrote, like, I have nobody, everybody's died, I like to yarn, I like to knit, just looking for a friend, and it was that girl. So, but when I was with her getting high, we went into CBGB's girls' bathroom. You always went to the girls' bathroom because the boys' bathroom had no door. There's no way I'm taking a shit, I'm not in the fucking woods. So we go inside the girls' bathroom, and I put my back on the door. We locked the door, and I put my back on the door and my feet on the toilet bowl just to make sure nobody could get in. So I got my whole back on the door. It had a good flusher, like it flushes. So we flushed it like 4 times just to be clean.
Yeah.
And then we drew up water from the toilet bowl into the syringe and shot dope in the bathroom. And
wait, why didn't you just take it from the toilet tank?
We weren't smart. I don't know.
How many years later you're like, shit, I had clean water.
Hold on. So 40 years later, you're smart and I was dumb, okay? You weren't 20 wanting to shoot dope more than anything in the world, all right? So, 40 years later, you're a genius with your own show. Big deal. Okay, so it's the same shit. It's going right down.
That's what punk means. When you take them,
you flushed it 4 times. It's the same water. It's not coming from over there.
Holy shit!
So to us that was being clean. So that was disgusting. The other one's much more pleasant.
Okay.
There was a guy named Rod Swenson who invented the plasmatics.
Okay.
And he was like this Yale guy, and he invented this thing called it's about as funny as the your, the Ms. All Bear America pageant, right? Ms. All Bear, and it was at the Beacon Theater, and Don Imus was the MC, and Henny Youngman, you know who Henny Youngman is? Okay.
Of course, rest
Take
in
my
peace.
wife, please.
Yeah.
Henny Youngman was the comedian, and what it was a parade of different girls getting naked, answering questions like a beauty contest. At the Beacon Theater, 3,000 people. The Dictators were in the basement coming up on the rise, doing a heavy metal version of America the Beautiful. So we come up and we do that, and we were the band. And this one girl wins out of like 18 girls, right? A week or two later, we're on stage at CBGB's. The picture's on my wall at Manitoba's Born, 99 Avenue B, between 6th and 7th Streets, B like boy. So we girl gets on stage, and all of a sudden she pulls her pants down and lifts her shirt up. And she's standing there, and I'm like, okay, I'm a rock star. I got to do something cool.
Yeah.
What do I do? I'm nervous. What do I do? So I just dropped to my knees and stuck my hand between her legs, and you could tell what era it was by the pubic hair, obviously. So, I mean, she had a full forest going there. So I stick my hand and I give a peace sign between her legs, and everyone in the band's cracking up, and she's dancing with us totally naked. So that was a pretty cool thing. That was naked, and, and in those days, you could fuck and you could do whatever you want. You're not going to die because you're not going to get AIDS. You're going to get a pill from the doctor. And so it's like everybody did everything, right? So the funny thing is, if you come to the bar, and I know what people are thinking, when someone looks at someone naked right away, the first thing is they look at, that's her vagina, that's his penis, that's her tits, that's her face, that's his face. I mean, you're going to look at a person and then break it down.
Yeah.
But when they come in and they first look down there and they see this like double-edged penis or something, they see this thing, and they immediately like, what's going on? I don't know what to make of that picture. Like that, it's so weird. For a few seconds, excuse me, are you having a problem deciphering that picture?
Let me tell you guys about Infinite CBD. Infinite CBD works for a lot of people. If you go to infinitecbd.com and use promo code WELCOME15, you get 15% off, and here's what you can get. You can't sleep? They've got CBD PM that works with melatonin. Usually melatonin by itself, you fall asleep, then you're groggy. We use the CBD PM, and you have a nice rest. CBD with coconut oil and melatonin, it's all three of them together. There's have hair plasma now. So CBD and vitamin E and argan oil, it undoes hair damage, and it's got an antioxidant known to promote hair growth. They've got a CBD nano detox to help you with the hangovers. They've got it's got milk thistle, green tea, ginger, beetroot powder, vitamin C, and a bunch of other products. So if you go to infinitecbd.com and use promo code WELCOME15, you get 15% off. Check it out. There's a lot of stuff there to choose from, and it's high quality CBD. Tell me how bad it was in the Bronx when you were growing up, or when you were living there as a young man.
It was fucking great.
Okay.
It was great. A great place to grow up. It was. I grew up in a great city housing project, and my ex, who didn't understand anything about New York, although she thought she was Miss New York, she thought like Section 8 is New York housing, and I forget what they call it in London, the row houses or something.
Council estates.
Council flats.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. She goes, you had a TV in your bedroom. I slept with my sister till I was 16. Not with my sister. Yeah. I'd be really great having me on here. So I said it was 6 buildings. There was Pat Cimarelli, who ran the Fix-It crew. The Fix-It crew was his nephews and relatives that were all 6'3", 280-pound Italian guys. We didn't need any security. They were security. They were the Fix-It crew. It was 6 buildings with a circle of grass in the middle, immaculate and mixed, black, white, Spanish. It was just like Everybody got along. Everybody held the door for everybody. Everybody held the elevator. Nobody rushed in the elevator like where I live now to get away from whoever wants to come in. And it was great. In the backyard, I looked out my backyard. There was a priest rectory and a church, Immaculate Conception Church, and then Evander Field, the high school I went to. And then right downstairs in the street, we painted lines across Holland Avenue. And we played football, not tackle, but it was in the street.
Yeah.
So what you do is it was a very untraveled avenue. It was like a car would turn like every 10, 12 minutes. So we would be playing football in the middle, a car would turn, and somebody would just yell, "Car!" And everybody, without looking, would just go to the side, and the car would pass, and we'd play. So we played football there. And why I was really lucky was every July and August, my family took a bungalow up in the Catskill Mountains.
Same here, Ellenville.
Really?
Yeah.
That was the other side, about 45 minutes away. I was like more like Liberty, Monticello, Kiamish Lake.
Monticello has that arcade.
They still had it. Yeah, I heard it's all gangbanging now.
I don't know.
I hung out. That's the first time I ever took a Quaalude in front of Fascination. It was called Fascination. Someone goes, "Hey, you want to try one of these?" I said, "Sure." I was like, "Yo, these are cool." So it was like fresh air fun for middle-class Jewish kids. It was great. I was in the woods. I figured out my own life with my friends away from my parents. And it was just wonderful being 100 miles outside New York. And at the end of my bungalow colony, angled toward the road, was a huge, like, 30-foot sign. Next week at the Concord, which was a quarter of a mile up the road, Bill Cosby. Next week at the Concord, Joan Rivers. Next week at the Concord, David Brenner. It was like, when I did a thing at the Evo Institute of Yiddish Culture, I did it with Lenny Kay and Chris Stein and Tommy Ramone, God bless his soul. And Chris came from like socialist communist parents. I came from you give the people a show. I grew up in the Catskill Mountains.
Yeah.
How do you not give the people a show? So the idea was, did Jewish culture influence your performing? And Chris was like, no, because of his background and his parents not being Jewish really, and my parents, we watched Ed Sullivan, and so to me, you give the people a show,
Yeah.
So I grew up with, how can you have that in you and not spit that out?
Right. You mentioned earlier your friend with who's passed away from HIV. Can you tell me what was like? How did you first learn about this disease? And how, you know what I mean? It seems like when it was starting out, there was so much rumor and misinformation. Was this something on your radar screen for people at the time?
It seemed you heard a lot about the looseness and the what do you call it, Al? The looseness and the when it's politically, when there's no rules,
Anarchy,
the sexual anarchy of the gay community, meeting on the West River,
right?
On the West River, on the Hudson River,
like that Al Pacino movie, Cruising.
Yeah, it seemed like stuff, and with us, with heterosexuals, stuff that had always gone on was always going to go on. But I think it was more of a walk around an area, pick someone up. I didn't think there was a heterosexual community like that unless,
right.
I'm going out to get a prostitute.
Right.
But when we first heard about it, it was terrifying. It was the game changed. The game changed. You didn't die from sex. Now you can die from sex. Until the cocktails got better and better.
Right. I mean, who was the first person? I mean, isn't it the case that when people got it, they were pretending they didn't have it?
It was like many disorders. I think, people are ashamed.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants people to know they're sick. A lot of animals in the jungle, they go off and hide. Like, I have a friend who is going through, he's going to the doctor for treatment of throat cancer, and the last 3 phone calls he didn't answer me, and I just gave him the space to go and hide, and get, when you want to call me, call me.
How have you? I mean, having a bar that's been going on for like 20 years is a big accomplishment in such a competitive city like New York, especially because Alphabet City has changed so much in that time. It's such a cliche. I mean, what's your secret?
My secret is luck, and my secret is I'm not sure how much longer it's going to last.
Okay.
Because the new people, I don't. First of all, not only do I think that they don't think it's cool, but I don't think they know what it is.
Right.
you know, to me, it's a clubhouse, keeping alive a culture. I mean, in terms of like, sets and subsets, like in rock and in math, like, rock and roll was the set. I came down here at 15 and saw Iggy on the Electric Circus at St. Mark's Place. I came down and saw the Who and and the Kinks at the Fillmore East in Procol Harum, and that was the set. That was, you'd go by these little head shops and you'd buy like a little 2-inch hash pipe, and you'd buy, you have any rolling papers? Now you have these ridiculous candy stores with 500 pipes in the window.
Yeah.
We sell cigarettes and we sell candy and 5,000 pipes.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know what that is. I don't even know what they use the friggin' pipes for.
Tobacco.
Flavored tobacco.
Yeah, flavored tobacco. Yeah, cherry.
And things change. Listen, there are people who industries have gone.
Of course.
Whole industries have dried up and gone. So, if my bar dries up, it dries up. If every person who came in who really, really in their heart loved my bar, the way they love my bar, the way I could look in their eyes, and it's a difference on a rock show between going, nice show, man, and like, man, I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much. That's the difference. If every one of those guys had 3, I'd be in business. People who love it so much. And I think people who love bar, they go into bar.
Right.
If bar closed, they go to another bar.
Right.
And then again, maybe people don't like, my thing. Maybe they just want plain bar, generic bar,
So you performed a lot with the MC5.
A bunch, about 30 shows.
Who are probably one of the most important bands, even though they're not a household name.
DKTM. I voted for them in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I
Okay.
got a vote.
Oh, cool.
I voted for them and John Prine.
Okay. What's it? What was it? I mean, and you've also interviewed Iggy. You're friends with him.
I'm pals with him.
Yeah.
We like each other a lot. And the Iggy interview was amazing. It's a part of it's still on the air on my website, handsomedickmanitoba.com.
Yeah, we're linking to all that in the YouTube notes. What's it like performing with them? Was it intimidating at all?
Well, first of all, you have to understand, I saw them play with the J. Giles Band when the J. Giles Band were like at like it was like embryo and then 1. I saw them at 1. Okay, so I saw the J. Giles Band at a little 300-seat club called the Rock Pile in Long Island. Then I saw them, want me to blow your mind, open up for the Byrds.
Oh shit! Okay.
Spring weekend at Newport. The Byrds are my top favorite, 10 favorite bands of all time. And, so they were absolute heroes of the Dictators. We would watch videos of them and we'd go out on stage and go, we know what our job is.
Yeah.
And it was 3 original members. So they called themselves DKTMC5, and they got guitar players and singers that were MC5 friendly to play with them. And I was one of them. And what can I tell you? You know what I always say? Traveling to Europe and getting paid money to sing Kick Out the Jams.
Yeah.
It was good being Handsome Dick Manitoba back then.
But is there some kind of one of the things that I experience is that I'm on Fox every so often, right? And I was talking to Gutfeld about this and how people yell at him on Twitter and he can't get his head wrapped around it. I go, what's happening now is that you used to be able to yell at the TV, but now you could yell at the guy at the TV directly and he yells back, right? So is there something surreal where you're on stage with these with people who influenced you so much and now you're singing their songs?
Not while I was on stage. It's like you talk about playing, you rehearse, it's exciting, but once you get on stage, it's like you're on a big baseball thing. You're in the field.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about, oh boy, I'm in Yankee Stadium. You're thinking about, I got to catch this friggin' ball.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all instincts. It's all, I got a job to do this moment. I can't, I really, in a sense, I can't think. I have to let my baseball IQ take over and my instincts take over. So that's how it was on stage, you know. But, you know, the headlines were magnificent. Off stage, I was like, wow, this is great. And my friends were like, wow, this is great. So it was more like that than being conscious on stage.
As a fellow lifelong New Yorker, what other cities are there that you like?
In the world? Or
that you've traveled to that you're like, I like this place.
Well,
there's not that many for me.
I know, but you asked me the question.
Yeah. No, but you said, oh, Jesus, like there's so many to choose from.
Okay. There are many, many, many cities I don't remember in Spain.
Okay.
But I like about 15 to 18 cities. I like almost every city I've been to in Spain.
Okay.
I love Spain. I love Spain because each section, it's not state, it's each
province,
region,
okay,
province,
yeah,
is its own little country in terms of food and what's their specialty. Oh, this kind of wine, this kind of food, this kind of like olive oil, the language. It's like all these different countries, and I love Madrid. I love Madrid. A lot of people like Barcelona. I like Madrid.
Okay.
Madrid's like a great version of New York. I love New York. Believe it or not, I like Miami Beach. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
I just like the ocean. I like the lay of the land. I know the lay of the land. I know the restaurants. I know the shopping. I like to go shopping. I'm a guy that likes to go shopping. I'm heterosexual. So then I go to the beach. I love it. It's clean. I love the sand and I just love it. I've been to California. I'm not a big fan, but I must admit, I've always had a good time because I'm there 3 or 4 days. I took a road trip up and down the state of California with my son in a Dodge Charger, and he was happy. I had a monster car, you know, and we stopped at like 6 people's houses and stayed there for a couple of days each and did like a 14-day road trip. And I had a really good time. I hated the beach, hate the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
But I had a really good time. But I'm not going to say it's my favorite. I think Chicago's a great city. Never spent enough time in New Orleans. I've heard it said there are 3 great cities in North America: New York, New Orleans, 4. New York, New Orleans, San Francisco, and Montreal. I've never spent enough time in San Francisco. I love Chicago. I love. I had a good time in Los Angeles, but I can't say I love it. All over Spain, I love. You know, it's hard. Like everywhere I went in the United Kingdom, in England, I'm enamored of Western Europe. I'm enamored of I'm a child of the British invasion.
I hate when I was in London. I hated it, and then I interviewed Ari Up from the Slits, rest in peace. And I'm like, what the fuck? I love all your guys' music. I love all your culture. And she goes, yeah, I'm not gonna do her accent. She goes, we hated London, and we couldn't wait to get the fuck out of there. So of course, if you're like us, you're going to hate it as well. I did not enjoy it at all.
My ex got out of there as a kid, got thrown out, and was always in love with New York since a little kid. I still love New York. When, Christmas time, I go up to Rockefeller Center. I get excited.
Yeah.
I still get excited.
Yeah.
But I just love, like I say, I'm a child of the British invasion. I love that accent. And I loved like the way they have this bar life and the way the bars all looked and some of the real old stuff. I mean, even in Spain, I was in this town had a church from like the 11th and 12th century, the Cathedral de Leon. It was called. I went to it. I looked at my promoter. I went, "What is that?" And I walked like it was a Steven Spielberg movie. I walked toward the light, and this thing. He goes, "It took like 17,000 people, 250 years to build this," something like that.
Yeah.
The Cathedral de Leon. It made St. Patrick's Cathedral look like a corner candy store. It was so magnificent. It's mind-boggling. Look up a picture in Wikipedia.
Here's a question I've never had a good answer to. When all these bands from back in the day, when they talk about their influences, the one band that they all seem to mention is the Shangri-Las and how much they love the Shangri-Las. Can you explain this to me?
That's a foreign
No,
statement to me.
Oh, okay. That doesn't ring true.
No, it's not true to you.
No, I mean it doesn't ring true to you. Is what I'm saying.
As the Shangri-Las being a big influence on them?
Like Chris talks about it a lot. The Go-Go's talk about it a lot. I think Patti talks about it. It's just weird. This is the one band that they all seem to have in common.
I never heard that.
Okay.
I'm sorry to cut your question short.
No, that's good.
But I never heard anyone saying that was like, major. I mean, my major influences were like the Who, the Stooges, the MC5, Chuck Berry, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, the Kinks. Don't get me wrong, I love the Shangri-Las, and Mary is wonderful. Mary sit and told me great stories. When you look at my website, you'll see little pictures of me and my father coming downtown from the Bronx, and him taking me to Jack Dempsey's, and that was his favorite fighter, Jack Dempsey, when he was a kid in the 30s. And Jack was sitting in the window, and my father tapped on the window, and Jack waved, and I sort of like went. The little child, Richie Blum, who was later to turn into Handsome Dick Manitoba, was very impressed by the bright lights of Broadway and knew that there and then he wanted his own joint.
Yeah.
And right next to Jack Dempsey's, and this is what Mary told me, was the Brill Building. And it's still there. It's gorgeous with all its like gauche gold. It looks like a Trump building.
Yeah, yeah.
And you open up the door, and to the right was another door right into Jack Dempsey's. And the Brill Building had like 5,000 hits, It'd be like an assembly line. You walk in with an idea, you walk out with a hit single.
Yeah.
It's still there, but Jack Dempsey's, of course, isn't.
They named a fish after Jack Dempsey because it's so tough and aggressive. Just FYI for the listeners.
A fish?
Yeah, there's a fish called a Jack Dempsey because it's very aggressive. Not kidding. I used to be into aquariums.
What type of an edible fish?
No, it's like for an aquarium. It's a cichlid. They're aggressive fish. They're called,
what's a cichlid?
A cichlid is just like a type of group of fish. You said what type? It's a cichlid.
So it's not one of those ones with the razor sharp teeth.
No. They don't have razor sharp teeth. Yeah, freshwater from the Amazon, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, so his legend lives on, very much.
Yeah, well, guys from that era, like my son was on my show the other day, and I have my right hand woman is Bullpen Betty, who's the expert on baseball. So we decided to end the show with who's your 5 favorite Yankees of all time. And my son, he was so bright the way he did this. He's 16. He goes, I think it's only fair if I talk about who I saw, because how can I talk about who I didn't see? So he started naming who he saw. He stopped in the middle. He goes, wait a minute. No. I got to say Babe Ruth, number one.
Yeah, of course, that's it. What do you miss anything about?
That was like Jack Dempsey.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Yeah. Do you miss anything about like seedy New York?
It's a great question, and
because it's a lot better in a book to have it be seedy than living it when you're on the train and people getting stabbed and you're unsafe and you don't know where food's coming from.
But that wasn't my experience with seedy New York.
What was your experience?
It's why it's a good question and a tough question to answer, and an unanswerable question in a sense, is you're asking me because you change every few years.
Sure.
As a 22-year-old and as a 65-year-old, you're asking me to judge something from 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, like my kid's 16. I told him AC/DC opened up for them over there. I saw the Who over there for 5 hours. I did this. I did that. In the same way, my father said, do you think my father got excited when I came home and told him I saw the Who for $5? You know what he said to me?
The Who?
I saw Snow. Who? He goes, I saw Sinatra for $3 at the Paramount. Now
I saw Houdini for $1.
He was a Jew.
Yeah, of course.
So, Harry Heshe. So,
you hit the Jew once, he dies. That's how he died. He got punched
in the stomach, right?
Yeah, it's just one hit and he's done.
Wow.
Yeah, we go down soft sometimes.
No, his Kreplach came up.
Yeah.
So, what were we saying?
We're talking about if you miss seedy New York, and you're talking about your son and.
Yes. Okay. So having a son really gives me a great perspective. He listens to Dad telling the old stories, but it's his time now.
Yeah.
And no matter how lame this neighborhood is, and we know it's very lame compared to what it used to be, he has his excitement. Dad, I'm going out to meet my friends. Dad, I'm doing this. Dad, I'm going ice skating. Dad, I'm doing this. He's going to remember 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 as exciting times. He's not going to remember it as, oh, shit, I missed my father opening up for AC/DC opening up for my father. It gave me a perspective that everyone who complains about New York, you're an idiot. I'll tell you why you're an idiot. Watch the New York history, the 12-part special.
Yeah.
The thing that is constant about New York is change. And the thing about change is not everybody likes the change, but that's what makes it exciting. The actual manifestation of change. And I don't like this era, but I like this era, but I don't like this. It's been going on forever. You know, you go to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, let's say, if that's a proper state, and it doesn't change fast.
Right. It
kind of stays the same and changes really slow. That's what makes New York exciting, but not everybody likes the change. Like I don't like the changes compared to when you go on the train. I go on the train with 5 or 6 people. We were the guys swinging on the poles. We were the guys taking the signs off.
Showtime.
I had every missed subways. I had 12 missed subways in my house. I used to take the things off. There was no cameras. You know, I got caught once for peeing on the subway station because I was so drunk. I got a $20 ticket or something. But the thing is, that's a great question. Like, you know, it was so. I'd leave my house at 12, go to CBGB's, go down to the Mud Club, go get a pretzel at Dave's Luncheonette on Canal Street, a pretzel and then there was 6, 7, 8 after hours clubs. We'd leave at 11:30. We'd leave at noon. Go back home.
Wow.
That's what New York was like.
Yeah, friend Leibowitz makes this point. She's like, New York was better then because you were younger then. So of course, if you're young in 20 and having fun at a time, when you're 65, it's like, yeah, been there, done that.
Exactly. Like, would I like it like that? I'm not going out to a after hours club now till 12.
Right.
I don't want to get up that late.
Right.
You know.
Last question: what is your favorite place in New York City right now, besides Manitoba's?
Favorite place? That could be food. That could be.
Is there a place that just emotionally, like when you walk by it or you go there, it just like it resonates to you?
You know, there are places I love. Like there are places I love. Like I'll tell you the place that it's not a place anymore.
Okay.
But it's a place that was. I walk by. I love Russian Daughters.
Yeah,
I love
right
Yona Shimmelknishes. In Manhattan, I'm talking about. And sometimes I walk by my old building. I lived for 18 years. But the place that gives me a feeling almost every time I walk by is Bill Graham Way,
Okay.
6th Street and 2nd Avenue. I always tell Jake, look, yo, tell me that story 50 times, Dad. I look up and I see this not awning, a thing coming out, you know.
Street sign.
No, what's the thing? I'm embarrassed. It's like 30th word I forgot in the show.
That is an awning. What are you doing? It's like Pictionary.
An awning.
Charades with Handsome Dick.
Not an awning, the thing that sticks out with who's playing and everything.
This, yeah, like with the club. What's it called?
See, you're fucking 20.
Marquee.
Yeah. How old are you?
42.
I was going to say 24. Wow. I'm dyslexic.
Yeah.
So.
It's a Dorian Gray thing.
Okay, so that, I could see that with like who's playing next week, the 3 bands coming up, and that theater. To me, my experience, the greatest theater for rock and roll in American history, in you know, the rock and roll era since the 50s. Like that was the greatest. I never went to the Brooklyn Fox. I never saw all that stuff in Brooklyn back in the early 60s. But I live a block away from there, and I walk by there a lot. And every time I walk by there, I look at Bill Graham Way, and I look at that bank, and I just think that is the manifestation of my rock and roll childhood.
That is a wonderful note to end on. Thank you so much, Handsome Dick, for coming in. Happy birthday again, and I will see you all next week. You are welcome.